The American dream was that you could say what you wanted. You had freedom of expression and lifestyle. If you worked hard and played by the so-called rules, then you prospered and you were secure. Tell that to somebody who's living in Chicago, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Baltimore, Washington, Memphis, Minneapolis. If you go into those cities, there's carjackings, there's mass looting, there's theft, there's human excrement on the sidewalk. You fill up your tank in California, it's $5.50 a gallon. You go in to buy something to wire your house, it's $120 for a roll of wire that used to cost $30. So Bidenomics really did a lot, because suddenly we went from a 30-year mortgage of 1.9 to 7 plus. And on the basket of essentials for life, food, gas, energy, housing, we're up to about 25% more than when Biden took office. So what he does is he just pathologically lies. He just says, well, inflation's 2% from last month or from, no, it's from when you started. And then he says, well, I brought more jobs. No, you started when there was the COVID lockdown and people had been laid off in the millions, and it just was a natural rebound. And you made it worse by engineering the economy when you had, pent-up demand, and we had the supply chain, and you poured money onto that and gave more purchasing power to people who already had it, and you ruined the currency. So when you look at energy, check, bad. You look at housing, interest rates, check, bad. You look at inflation, check, bad. You look at crime, check, bad. You look at the border, check, bad. And that causes a general feeling of malaise and depression. The most common thing that I hear if I'm going somewhere and somebody wants to talk, they say, what happened to the country? What the hell happened to the country? When did Americans say that you could go into an Apple store and just steal and you would be exempt? Or when did Americans say that people could come from the Middle East and disrupt Thanksgiving or tear down flags on Veterans Day or try to disrupt Black Friday shopping or take over bridges or scout out and harass and try to harm Jewish students at our universities? Weren't they guests? Aren't we their host? Is that how they reciprocate our magnanimity? So there's a lot of things that bother them. And they look at overseas and they're tired of wars and they don't want optional engagements. So they get depressed and they say to themselves, what did the leftists do with the power we gave them? And they flooded us with immigrants who don't like us, and they allowed crime to escalate to out of control proportions, and they hurt us economically, and they humiliated us abroad, whether in Afghanistan or other places, Chinese balloon, China, etc. And they're angry about it. So they're starting to say, these people did this to us, and they're shielded from the consequences of their ideology because they're all wealthy. They count on their influence and their money and their networking to shield them from the crime they created, from the costly inflation they created, from the housing crisis they created. So people are getting really angry at them and they lash out. And that doesn't help when the academic world and the media world calls them dregs and clingers and deplorables and irredeemables, chumps, semi-fascist. When you have Joe Biden saying, it's Thanksgiving, we're the greatest nation in the world, we've got to unite, man. While he sends out a little manifesto to how to talk to your ultra MAGA people at Thanksgiving, which is just a litany of lies and disparagements. I think the immigration is really starting to alarm people. And for me, it's bewildering because I wrote Mexifornia 22 years ago. But when you allow millions of people to come from one geographical area without diversity, without meritocracy, without skills, and come without English, and come illegally, then you have a recipe for disaster. And the only way to remedy that, if you're still going to do that, would be to have a confident host that insists on assimilation and integration. But when you have the left, the European and American, or indeed Western left, and their whole rationale for this is nobody wants our agenda. Nobody polls 51% for what we're doing on the border or crime or the economy or foreign policy or energy. So we need new constituents. And when they come in, we give them entitlements and we make them swear fealty to the left. And if you think that's just, oh, Victor's a advocate of Tucker Carlson's great replacement. No, I'm just quoting what they wrote themselves. The new Democratic majority, demography is destiny. These are titles of books by the left in triumphalist fashion. I guess what I'm saying is that this new phenomenon that we're bringing in millions of people because the left wants a constituency, because its message is no longer resonant, it doesn't work. And everybody on the left knows it doesn't work. And we saw what happened at Martha's Vineyard. And then the weird thing is, when people protest on the left, all of a sudden, if you're a leftist and you protest and you are kind of a crook, which is okay with the left, look what happens to Eric Adams. All of a sudden, we learned that he's getting illegal campaign donations. They knew that for years from Turkey, but they had no problem with that. But you cross them, like Elon Musk is another example. You just cross them. They had no problem with Elon Musk. He was their hero because of Tesla. And you cross them one time and they're vindictive people. And so what's weird about all this, just to sum up this, I don't want to rant, but what is strange about this is different. This is fundamentally, psychologically, socially, economically, culturally different than our past crisis. When you had the Great Depression, when you had the 2008 meltdown, everybody understood there had been a lapse, a breakdown, and it had to be corrected. This time, it's different because this is a self-inflicted suicidal impulse in which, when crime goes up, the old remedy of arresting people for crime and greater is not there. And when gas prices go up, that's good, not bad. When we get humiliated abroad, we'll keep getting humiliated abroad. So it's a whole fundamental effort to redefine what the United States is by destroying it. It really is.